So the Epstein files have dropped, and it's just enormous. It's massive. We've been checking them out. It's you really can't go over everything. I mean, how could you? There's 2,000 videos, over 180,000 images, and it says there's two Eiffel Towers worth of data. 200,000 pages remain withheld or heavily redacted. But it looks to me one of the worst offenders on here is actually Steve Bannon. I kind of expected a little bit more about Bill Clinton, but Steve Bannon is very questionable, and it makes a lot of sense what Trump said in 2018.
Coming from a paper statement issued to the pool here, Steve Bannon, from the president. Steve Bannon has nothing to do with me or my presidency. When he was fired, he not only lost his job, he lost his mind. Steve was a staffer who worked for me after I had already won the nomination by defeating 17 candidates, often described as the most talented field ever assembled in the Republican Party. Now that he is on his own, Steve is learning that winning isn't as easy as I make it look. Steve had very little to do with our historic victory, which was delivered by the forgotten men and women of this country. Yet Steve had everything to do with the loss of a Senate seat in Alabama, held for more than 30 years by Republicans. Steve doesn't represent my base. He's only in it for himself. Steve pretends to be at war with the media, which he calls the opposition party, yet he spent his time at the White House leaking false information to the media to make himself seem far more important than he was. It is the only thing he does well. Steve is rarely in a one-on-one meeting with me and only pretends to have had influence to fool a few people.
So in 2018 and 2019, Steve Bannon recorded over 15 hours of video interviews with Epstein. He was working to try and fix his reputation, fix Epstein's reputation. Text messages show that Bannon was trying to help Epstein look more sympathetic and friendly for a potential 60 Minutes interview. He even advised Epstein on his physical appearance, suggesting he grow a slight beard to look less like a clinical predator. What the heck? Apparently there are some serious gifts that he even got. That is very questionable. I don't agree with what's going on here. It doesn't look good with Bannon. Bannon is talking about putting this together as a documentary because he was trying to make a documentary before. And that's one of the questions. It's like, was he trying to get in there to make him, to like expose him? I guess you could say that, but the text messages and a lot of the communication kind of seems different. I guess we'll see what happens with his documentary. But yeah, just none of it looks good. I'll tell you that right now.